just kind of build your own grammar as we go. And you can see the literals there. You put in quote you capture the value into here, and it's going to use Go types under the hood and its implementation to pull out whatever value type you've got there. So you can start putting in your own types, and it goes recursive from there. So you can see. Is there anyone not familiar with an ini file? I should probably start with that. It's okay. It's all right.
Sorry, ini file?
Ini file. That's the one. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's like, famously, it's right, Windows associated, but effective, right? I'm sure it goes back further, but who knows? Stories welcome. If you got any stories, or I spelt them out, right? That's what we're doing. Anyway, so yeah, it's really just kind of build your structs in this parser. So we've got here an ini file. We've got the properties, right? Which now we can say, oh, that's going to be your left-hand side and your right-hand side. And you can see here's a typical, like a canonical example of like, oh, we've got this rich value type, and we can see this single pipe, is an OR there. So it just kind of builds right up, and this guy talks about all the markup or all the ways to express. And so backing out here, we can start to see. You look at the example. So this guy's example is for each of these things. Like we'll just start here. He's got for each expression, it kind of just builds up from a actually let's go. Expression 2, right? So something that would just evaluate your average full expression, and here you kind of see it, right? You get the idea. I don't know, maybe you don't. I don't know. It took me forever to like look at this stuff, so sorry if I'm going through it fast. It's only because I've been a hot mess with this, but it's really interesting. Anytime you're faced with shoot, do I look around for a certain parser that's going to fit the bill for this thing, or you can write something that is like completely go safe, and you're not adding a single dependency. I think y'all got a little chill a couple months ago. I did anyway, when there was I don't know what's the name of it when someone basically implants something in a repo and it got around and some of it goes.
What
was it? What was the story?
The worm and NPM.
Oh, well, there's NPM. Was there another one?
Supply chain attack.
Right, oh, thank you. Yeah. There was.
They cached the malware in the Golang proxy, but it wasn't a source code repo anymore.
Okay, so it was like probably a notch down from being, so we still have our dignity, gentlemen. All right, we'll see. For now, that's for sure. So yeah, that's your run-of-the-mill kind of expression of value. But just some other examples that kind of get fun are to sort of demonstrate when that time comes, when you want to whip out a parser and not add any dependencies to your world other than this, which is so this is like the full INI parser here, which isn't anymore and that much bigger than his example, right? So really very, very little code for a completely potent parser. And then he lets you also get at the lexer as well, and you've pretty much got a whole additional layer. Let's see if there's any in there. A protobuf, that's a good one. So this guy covers all of protobuf with this single set of structs here. So not too shabby, right?
Is this, I see the struct tags, is this doing reflect, or is this
yes.
like code generation?
So, I mean,
okay.
that's a good question. We should look at the invocation of one of these. So here he is here with a, basically you start the parsing process basically by giving your, a pointer to the structure, the instance it's going to fill, and then it will just, from that instance, or from that sort of reflect, it can basically traverse the entire possibilities because it can pull all the reflect stuff from the root instance that you've given it. So you effectively give your whole you implicitly are giving your entire deep language by just giving it its root object that it's gonna parse from. Cool, so that's it. So yeah, if there's any others you wanna, are on here that you can just see by scrolling through the examples for each one of these, you know, he's got a SQL one in here, let's take a quick look at that. You know, probably more for the academics here, but yeah, so that's, if there's any questions, happy to try and answer, but yeah, once you can kind of wrap your head around some of the stuff there, it's I've used it two different projects so far one to make a random little mini parser, doesn't matter, and the other was for SDL, if y'all are familiar. Just think of it like it has the equivalence of XML, but it's like totally non-verbose. It just uses like angle or curly brackets.
Can it generate the syntax back out again, like into your full circle? Where it says
Good
first
question.
equals-
I don't know. I'm sure. I bet you. Let's see. Well, because yeah, I guess I think this. Yeah. So participle. He's this. Let's look at this guy's other projects. He's got some like rad projects, and I think one of those is this Kong one. Oh yeah, what a great question. So other repos this guy's got is so Kong is basically a command line parser with that level of power, except it's makes life a little easier if you're just pulling in. So I'm actually using that for parsing arguments and things like that. And yeah, I guess we'll go back to parsing. So I'm not sure, but there's somewhere in here where he's got all kinds of like meta reflex stuff that melted my brain when I tried to look at it. So I'm sure there's probably stuff like that.
There's a performance section. That's gonna be my question.
Oh yeah, I'll check it out. Might include examples. Is that, oh my god.
It's apparently faster. Am I reading that right? Fewer.
Oops, sorry. What does that? Sorry, getting this groundhog here. Why did it put me into like, maybe it thinks I'm on the whole, like what's happening? Oh, I see, the width changed, so it kept its build mark wherever, but that's not where the new size is, alright, there we go.
So it's less nanoseconds per operation, more bytes.
I guess, I don't know, tell me what y'all think, but I feel like when you see an author who just has like slices and dices the crap out of what the little project is, I wouldn't be surprised at anything, as far as performance, but, cause he leverages most of what Go offers, right? So, I suspect it's, what do you see?
I'm just surprised that Reflect could be faster than
Oh, I think I suspect I think there's a first phase when you basically, it compiles it. That's when it does all the traversal stuff.
Oh.
So it's not doing per instance. It would do the single traversal to build everything, and then it can just blow through the input based on basically the machine.
The parser generator,
I think
it's reflection, but then once it's built.
So is it generating, you think it's generating source code?
No, it's generating an internal like set of trees and like rich data structures that let it
At
like a
like
regex.
application startup?
Like a regex.
Yes.
And then the parsing is fast.
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
there's a
okay.
regex compile.
Not an application startup, at compile time.
It's
Well,
building
I guess
At
wait.
compile.
Initialization.
It's building a
I
state
guess
machine.
both, okay, both.
Okay, okay.
So there's a function, and you call that function, that builds a parser. I expect that parser, the only reflection, once the parser is built, the only reflection it's doing is to create instances of structs.
Okay.
It
So-
probably doesn't, yeah.
Well, it would- if it's emitting instances of your custom struct, it has to, which it does, then it has to be using reflection to create those instances. But
But it's not gonna be looking at the struct tags.
You build up the
Yeah, as you're
invocation.
parsing.
correct, it will not be doing that analysis as it's parsing.
So,
And to answer the earlier question, there is a method that will print out the EBNF,
EBNF.
the syntax.
And this says that it has a utility that he made that'll make a railroad diagram based on the EBNF outputs, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, so, wait, so what was the consensus there?
It's fast.
And maybe we don't understand how.
Oh, no, it's,
I don't understand.
No, well, I was gonna bring up,
It does the analysis when you create the parser. It does the heavy reflection when you create the parser. And then
Yeah.
if you just want, is this valid, that's probably simple. That probably doesn't need reflection. If you want to emit values of your custom structs, then it will have to use reflection to create those struct values.
oh yeah, let's give it up here in a second, my time's basically up, but I think to answer that. So here's me, basically, this SDL parser that I have, basically the way it shows up here is, so I just have a local variable there, and then it's, I asked Parsifal to build this, I see, it's right, he recently changed over to generic, so AST is the root of my SDL parser here. So when at a init time, basically, so the answer is at app startup time, it's gonna basically go through the full traversal starting from this root structure here with reflect once, and then at that point, it's got its own baked parser, and then so at runtime, when something comes in, it would just access that. Cool, well, thanks for attending the TED Talk, and yeah, like I said, definitely have fun with that parser if that floats your boat, and you wanna keep things, no supply chain attacks here. My friend said to never try wine in a can, but she didn't say a small can.
Not terrible, that's my default drink.
Yeah, it's really good. I really enjoyed it. Woo.
Moving it up, or do you get?
Yeah, I have adapters for several different kinds of things.
Hi, I'm Nicholas. I think I found a bug in Go test. Maybe. We'll see. So I'll tell you a story how I found this. Mostly this is like a fun story, not a super in-depth analysis, but we'll see. So I run infrastructure for my company, and we have various Kubernetes clusters, and we have Renovate, which is really good, by the way, you should use Renovate, that gives us pull requests to update things. In this case, I'm updating some Helm charts for each of the clusters, and I want a tool to run in CI that will tell me if I'm doing them out of order. So I don't want to upgrade prod first, I want to do stage first. Yeah, okay. So I wrote a little utility that prints out a table like this that shows me all the versions for all the clusters. Here's a short bit. And then I want, I'm gonna do some checking on the version numbers. I'm gonna exit one if they're like out of order, but I also want to highlight for the user like what's out of order. So I wanted, if they're out of order, I want that line to be red, And if they're all the same, I want that line to be green, because there's no differences. So, I wrote that little utility, and I was using this Jedi bot Go Pretty to print the table. And Renovate says, this is an abandoned project. Hasn't been updated in more than a year. You should probably use something else. Cool. So the change I wanted to make was to migrate from Go Pretty to Table Writer, because I had heard there was a new release of that. A new release sounds like it's maintained. I'll switch to Table Writer. This is what the code looks like. I have a version order checker. It has this color method. It takes a row, that's the name of the chart, and then the version numbers, and then it gives me a row back. If the issues field has the name of the chart in it, and there's a problem on that row, so give me the whole row as red. If the row is unique, not including the name of the chart, then it can be green. Here's is unique. Here's the color of the row. Then I wrote a test because I wanted to know if it worked. So here's my test. I have a version order checker. This is the no issue version. You put this in, you get that out. You put this in, you get that out. Cool. Here's you put this in where they're all the same. You get that out. These are the escape codes. You know, escape codes for colors in term. Okay. And if you put issues in, then you get red. That's 31. This is 32. Cool. I don't really care about the colors. I just wanted to make sure that like this logic is correct. Yeah. Go through the normal development loop. I'm in my versions directory. Go test. The tests fail. I do some code to do some work. I fix it up. Eventually, they pass. I go to commit, and the tests fail. That's weird. As it happens, this is pretty small. We have a Git hook that runs the tests on commit pre-commit, and it says, the tests failed. This was my first mistake in this story. Didn't read the output of the test failure. Didn't understand the output of the test failure. I was just like, what the heck? I was just running go test. What's the problem? How come when I run go test dot, and then it fails, but when I run go test, it passes? This is the part where I'm like, what? Do any of you have a guess?
I do.
Yes?
I think it's like the terminal emulation. So like when you run it like in the terminal, it's using the terminal, and when you run it like in the test, then it's not using the terminal. So that's why the colors at the front, and that's why it fails.
Good idea. This is both in the terminal. Right? Go test dot. Go test.
Oh, okay.
At least I convinced myself of that. So they're separate processes, right?
There was at one point I ran into this. Now I think this situation has changed. One of the differences that you used to have between dot and no dot was which packages would be tested by default. So if you put dot, then it will do the package whose it's all packages found in the current directory, and if you don't do a dot, then it will not do all packages found in the directory. It will only do the one associated with. I guess the like no dot or something like that.
You can't have more than one package.
Okay.
You can have
No, you
tests.
can. Yes.
Okay.
And these are two different packages, and that's important to remember.
Okay.
Because they get parsed different. So,
Interesting.
so if you have a package and then package underscore test, these are two different things. Also, main. Main is a different package as well.
You can have main and something else in the same directory?
Yes.
It always complains.
And now it does, yes. That's part of what I was getting at. It was an older version ago. But yes, I mean, at that time, you could have 3 different packages in the same folder, and it, at that time, was a legitimate thing you could have done, which is to have main, to have package, and have package underscore test. And these are all parsed differently. If you do go test dot, they'll try to do all of them.
It's called local, it's called local directory mode when
Yeah.
you do the dot, and when you do it the other way, it's global for the whole project. So your project can be, you have your after, and you can, or rather your source dir, right? You can put it in a source. and then you're gonna call it forward, if you're in that dir, then it's not gonna recursively go through. So it's
Yeah, but recursively is spelled dot dot dot.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, that dot tells it to stay local, and go test tells it to recursively. Recursive is the default, that's what it's saying here.
No, that's not true.
Yeah.
That is true?
No, but
Okay.
it-
Yeah,
it-
you have to say
it's
dot,
not,
dot, dot,
it's not
dot.
true upstream, it's true downstream.
If I'm in the parent, I can say go test and that's everything?
If
That's
you've
what
got
it's
things
saying.
inside of your test, if you've got testable things in there, and then it would depend on the shape of the inclusion. So what will happen is, if there are some things inside of there where you have as part of your include path. So it's going to depend on our packages inside of your root.
There are.
Calling things inside of children. Yes, do you reference child packages from the parent package?
Okay.
Because what it's not doing is it's not traversing the file system. What it's doing is it's traversing that section of the package. That's what it's doing.
It's hard to make this bigger.
So it's not gonna go look for files, it's going to look for what is the tree of package inclusions that we are looking at, and that's how it's making this.
To be honest, there's more that happens too, it's nuanced, I'd take a look at it, if you just Google go test versus go test dot versus go test, then you'll
Yeah.
see its output, and it's got, go test dot will cache the packages as well, that were successfully tested when other ones won't.
Yeah, that's another fun
Was
one.
there a time where go test no arguments didn't work? Am I remembering that right, that at some point they added the nothing means dot?
I don't know. If you run go test today, it's definitely not recursive.
This is true, yes.
But
It's
just
just
throw
not-
a,
it's
I
just
think
not
if you
recursive.
throw a dash X on the command line, I think it's dash X, it'll actually show you what it's doing under the hood, and you can compare.
Only bash.
I'm sorry? No, I'm not talking about set dashboard, I'm talking about go tools, you can do dash, I believe it's dash X, will say, we're going to show you what commands we're actually running.
Go build